What's up, YouTube? A special shout out to the subscribers here and welcome to another weekly video where I'm here to talk through all the training I'm doing to prepare for Ironman Texas coming up in April of 2026. First things first today, I'd like to give a shout out to the United States Marine Corps. It is the 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, so happy birthday, Marines. I am proud to say that I served in the Marine Corps for 5 years. It was a little bit of a long time ago now. I was in the Marine Corps from 2004 up until 2009. Have some great memories, a lot of great just experiences. You know, obviously it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but very proud of my service, and I like to try to celebrate the Marine Corps birthday every year, so had to give that a shout out here getting started. In today's video, I'm going to talk through how last week's training went. It was a fantastic week of training. I really think that this last week was probably one of the best training weeks I've had in a long time. We'll take a look at the rest of the training I have coming up this week, getting ready for Ironman, the sprint distance triathlon version of Ironman that I'm going to be racing this coming weekend. And then finally, I'll talk about that race a little bit more and touch on the current USAT age group rankings, which I'm sort of curious to try to work my way up the ranks. So we'll take a look at where I'm sitting right now and how I might be able to climb up the ranks a little bit further this year if I can have a good result in this weekend's race. So first things first, last week's training. I really feel like last week's training was, not only was it really challenging, but I also feel like I got through all of it feeling somewhat strong. So that's definitely a good sign. I noticed that I ran 17 miles last week in total across 4 different runs. I took a look. That's actually the most running I've done in a 1-week period since the last week of July. So definitely, I think that says a lot. I've been able to work my running up slowly but surely. 17 miles last week with 2 interval runs, 2 easy runs, and the intervals went really well. So right off the bat, that was a really big win for me last week to get all those running miles done. And I've also been able to maintain that steady progression up over the last few weeks. That is great. I'm really happy about that. Going through day by day though, starting out on Monday, 2,900 yards in the pool last Monday. Really happy to have squeezed that in. And then I got my yoga done on Monday evening, and that's been going well as well. Tuesday was a really, really long day for me. I started out the day getting up early, getting over to the gym to do my strength training. I have been doing a 5-day per week strength plan that's really been keeping me busy. 2 of those days each week on Tuesday and Thursday are a bit of a more like about an hour of strength training, and the Monday, Wednesday, Friday stuff is more like 10-15 minutes of stretching and some core work. So had one of those key strength sessions on Tuesday first thing in the morning, then came and did a 45-minute zone 3 ride on the trainer with some zone 3 sprinting, and then after that got off the bike and did a 2.5-mile brick run. Now, that in itself was a great training session. The reason why the day was really difficult was because I then went out and did another about 2 hours of exercising, 2 different bike rides where I did with my son. Mountain bike riding, so not quite the same as doing intervals on the trainer, but still I had 3 training sessions done, and then I went and did all this mountain biking in the afternoon. I was just exhausted on Tuesday. Did my best to recover, get ready for Wednesday morning's run, which was a doozy. This was an interval run where I was doing 4 minutes at race pace, 4 minutes slower than race pace. I ended up doing 2 of these bad boys, right around 7 minutes per mile, and it felt good to be running again, just running at that race pace and feeling good, my hip feeling good, my foot feeling good. Of course, I'm still dealing with a little bit of soreness during the day after my runs, but that's going away. The next morning, typically, I'm feeling 100% again. So I think that's just going to be the part of the healing process here, dealing with a little bit of extra soreness, especially on days when I get out and run fast. So definitely happy with Wednesday's run. And then on Thursday, went to the pool again, knocked out another 2,900 yard swim, and then finished off Thursday with that other key strength training session. Definitely was feeling pretty sore at this point already. Like the whole week was pretty busy. getting to Friday, I had this 2-hour training ride on my plan that I know was sort of left over from when I was training for the 70.3 distance version of my upcoming race. I decided to cut that ride by about a quarter. I did 90 minutes of it, and it was extremely challenging. Was really trying to hang on and push the power that the workout called for. But I was pretty fatigued. Had that fast run on Wednesday, strength training the day before. And you'll see for these 8-minute sections here, I'm averaging 317 watts. What's this one look like? 318 watts. 318 watts. So I did 4 of these 5-minute high zone 4 efforts and decided to just call it because the workout had 6. I did 4 and I thought that was good enough. And then the second part of the workout, I did a steady set around 12 minutes at, what is that? 230 watts. Definitely was feeling it on that bike ride on Friday. That was really tough. Moving on to Saturday, another pretty challenging run. I had 20 minutes at 10K pace was what was written on the workout. I didn't feel comfortable doing 20 minutes straight all out. It kind of felt like that would be racing a 5K the weekend before I'm doing the sprint triathlon that also has a 5K in it. So I split it up and did 2 by 1 mile. Both of those miles I came in around 640, 650 per mile, which is exactly what I want to try to run in this race coming up this weekend. So was really happy with that. And finally on Saturday, went out and did more mountain biking, 12 miles of mountain biking after that run on Saturday. So I am just like I was looking at this week of training, I've just been so busy. And Sunday yesterday was a pretty challenging day. Really tough bike ride in the morning. Finished up this bike ride with this 30-minute progressive set where I went from 10 minutes high zone 2, 10 minutes zone 3 effort, and then 10 minutes at high zone 4 effort. And I'm not quite sure like how, let's take a look and see how I averaged on that one. Let's see. Yeah, 325 watts for 10 minutes. That is almost 10 watts above my FTP of 317. So mission accomplished there. Transition run. Called for running easy and progressing to half marathon pace, but I really, at this point yesterday, I was feeling very fatigued. Decided to just run this as a recovery run. So ended up doing about 9:30 per mile, kept my heart rate under 140. Ultimately, I'm really glad that I decided to get out and do the run and not push myself to do another hard interval run back to back. I'm just not quite ready for that yet. And doing this 2.5 mile recovery style run put my weekly running volume up at 17 miles, which again is the most running I've been able to accomplish in a week for months. So fantastic training next week. Looking at this week's training, it is a little bit of a free-for-all. You know, this week I'm really just trying to focus on recovering, staying moving, getting ready mentally, physically to go give it my all on Saturday. Tomorrow I'm going to head to the pool, do an easy bike ride. On Wednesday, I've got one more sort of interval type run, just 3-minute sections of running at race pace. And the run itself is only 45 minutes. So that should be good to keep some of that foot turnover, keep that speed in my legs. Thursday, easy ride, easy run. Actually, Thursday's ride is a little bit of zone 3 work. Yeah, so 6 by 3 minutes in zone 3. That should be no problem on Thursday. Easy run off the bike. Friday, going to go to the pool. My last workout before the race, going to go swim. And then Saturday, going to take it easy, cheer on my son, who's going to be racing the Oilman Kids Duathlon on Saturday. And then on Sunday morning, get to do the Oilman Sprint Distance Triathlon. So that is all the training from last week and a little bit of talk about how the training's going to go this week. My Garmin training status has stayed on maintaining for the entire week, so that's been fun. And the last thing I want to talk about here is really this race coming up. what I'm hoping to do, and then also how the race this weekend might affect my ranking for the 2025 triathlon season for the USA Triathlon National Rankings. So the race coming up on Saturday is going to be a sprint distance triathlon. The course is going to be like a portion of what the 70.3 triathlon does. And it looks like it's going to be a very similar swim. So the swim, normally for the 70.3, you would go out here and then do this out and back and then turn back and finish. But it's just a quick out, left to the transition area, very short swim. The bike is going to be 11 miles out and back, going to leave the resort, go out, and then it's actually not quite an out and back because you get this little loop. So you come out, you do this loop, and then you head back in on the same roads that you rode out on. 11-mile bike ride. I am going to try to absolutely smash this bike ride. I want to try to average over 310 watts, as close to my FTP as I can. My FTP test is putting me at 317 watts. I want to try to ride at that threshold for the entire 11 miles. I think it's possible that could put me over 25-mile-an-hour average for the bike ride, which would really set me up to have a great overall race, hopefully. So that's the hope on the bike for 11 miles. The run is basically, it's like the last part of the 70.3 run course. I'm very familiar with this race. I've done it. I've done the 70.3 4 times. And now, so the way this run is going to work, out on the golf course, a little bit of out and back, then you go all the way out to the main road, turn around and come back. And then before you cross the finish line, you got to do this final little loop here and come across. So really looking forward to this race. Last year, the results of the race, first place had a 22.6 mile bike ride and a 7:17 pace on the run. They also had a pretty good swim as well. Now, I know obviously this isn't really an accurate representation of what the competition's going to be like coming up this weekend, but I always like to look at last year's results. Also, one thing I noticed that is the top 3 athletes were able to get in under 1 hour. I've never broken an hour in a sprint distance race, and yes, there are different distances across sprint triathlon. They're not all going to be, the distances are, not always the same. Like this is an 11-mile bike course. Sometimes they're 12 or 15 miles. So I just kind of noticing these results and seeing the kind of paces and seeing that overall finish time, I've decided that I would love to shoot to break 1 hour. Whether or not I can come in that overall position or get that overall master's position, we're going to find out. However, one thing is pretty exciting. There are going to be cowboy hat awards this year. They're going to give out full-on cowboy hat awards. So if I'm able to win one of those cowboy hats, I am going to wear it in my next training video. So that's exciting as well. And then the last thing I want to take a look at is the ranking system. This is something I've been paying attention to only for the last year or so in my triathlon racing. So last year's, let's see. All right, so currently I am sitting at 224th place out of 976 ranked athletes this year. That is a composite score of 90.6 for all of the races that I've done. And it's possible that if I'm able to have a good result at this coming up race this weekend, it's possible that that overall score might increase a little bit, and therefore my overall rank might jump up a little bit as well. Last year I was ranked 376th. This year I'm sitting in 224th, so I've jumped up the ranks quite a bit. And I have an opportunity here to go and complete one more race and potentially increase my point average and increase my position in the rankings. In order to get the All-American honor, I would have to finish in the top 10%, which with 976 athletes, that means somewhere in the top 97 or so athletes are going to make it. So I'm not really sure I'm going to be able to jump from 224th all the way to 97th. However, it would be fun to crack the top 200 or, just get closer if I can. And ultimately, that's just something that's going to be figured out in the weeks after the race. It takes a little while for them to calculate the scores and stuff like that. So that's everything for this week. Really enjoyed my training last week. All that mountain biking was a ton of fun. Plus I got all that running done. I am really, really hopeful that I'll be able to get to this race feeling ready to go, ready to tackle it, and then it'll be hopefully about 1 hour of work or less to get to the finish line. All right, thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, anything at all about the content or the training that I'm posting here, please put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll be back next Monday with an update about how everything went. Hopefully, I'll be wearing a cowboy hat. Take care. See you next time.